Looks so good. Okay. Hi, everyone. So excited to have you here at the Sharpening. If you are new to this space, this is a newsletter where we try to use creative practices for political catharsis, try to use our art instead of sort of feeling like art doesn't matter. To political movements and to creating change in the world. So that's what we do here at the Sharpening. And with that in mind, I love to come on here and talk with people who are at the sort of intersection between political justice work, politics, artistry, giving voice to the voiceless, speaking about things that are hard to talk about, in particular in one of the most difficult mediums to do that, which is poetry. And so I am extraordinarily thrilled to introduce my dear friend, Mahogany Browne. She is a poet like no other. I mean, it's hard to know where to begin with you, Mo. I love you so much, and you've done so much for the world of literature and for poets and for writers of all statures, like the babies coming up who are just learning, just figuring out how to be in this world and this space, all the way up to like, the Pulitzer Prize winning poets, the ones who are like the top of our games. And so for you as a writer, I feel like you're a poet who kind of um, dares the page to keep up with you when you're writing. I don't know if that like makes sense, but your work it's fierce, it's lyrical, it's unflinching, it's beautiful. Mo was the executive director at Bowery Poetry for many years, also instrumental voice in the Nuyorican uh, poetry slam in New York, bringing all kinds of people onto the stage, including me, way, way, way back in the day. She has been poet in residence at Lincoln Center. She is the author of 5,000 books. Like there's so many, including Chrome Valley, which I really love. I think that came out in 2025, no, 24, right?
Four.
Thanks. Yeah, 24. Incredible. She's won awards. She really is sort of like the aggregate of pulling everyone together in the world that is poetry and figuring out like, these people should know each other. This event should exist in this space, and here's why. Here's this institution that could do more with this, and here are the people I'm going to bring in to make that happen. So everyone, please welcome my very dear friend, Mahogany Browne. Hi, Mo.
Ding, 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 ding. Thank
Dee.
That was good. It's always funny. I hate introductions because you're right. There isn't one thing that I do. So folks are like, what is it? And I just say, I be living. I live through the word. I think that's my new adultified 50-year-old answer is poetry has always been the nucleus, but I live through the word.
You live through the word, and you also love through the word, and exist and you channel.
And
There is a grace about you and your writing. And so I think we'll just start from there. Can you sort of give everyone here, for new folks who are watching or who are going to be, ooh, did we lose you? I think we did. Okay, if you come back, let me try to re-invite Mo. Hang on. Welcome to the internet, everybody. Let's see. People, give us just 1 second, everybody. Let's see. We're just going to try to get Mo back online here for a second. I feel like Sam is probably chuckling right now because it's usually me that this happens to in some situation. Let's see. Okay, just finding her. Hang on. Hang on. I'm texting with her right now. We're going to try to pull her back up online. Give me 1 second here. Thank you for the 30 of you that are just chilling, just hanging out. This is my background living room. It's very exciting. Um, let's see. Okay. I think we're going to have this figured out in 1 second. Bear with me, everybody. Let's see. Here we go. Okay. So, okay. I found her. I'm sending the invite. Thank you all for bearing with us.
Woo! Woo! I'm like,
Hi, welcome back.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I just trying to expand my little screen so I can see your face. I'm sorry. Sorry.
Listen, this is like what happens with my life always and forever.
I
Um
didn't push a leave button. I swear. I was trying to see who was in the chat and just expand it. It's crazy. I'm sorry.
it's
I
totally fine. I'm gonna refresh one more time to make sure that I see the folks in the chat because Substack is just really on its own game. So stand by.
got it.
Okay, I see the chat. It's good. Thank you everyone for sticking back around. I'm going to do one more quick intro, and that way, when we have the replay, folks know. So, we are meeting today. I'm so thrilled to be here with my very dear, amazing friend, Mahogany Browne. She is the author of so many incredible books, including Chrome Valley. She's the poet in residence at Lincoln Center, which is coming to an end soon. And we're going to do a big, beautiful celebration of her for that. Um, as I was saying, Mo, you are the great connectorate of all things in the poetry world, in the literary arts. One thing you do so beautifully is you sort of are able to be within very large institutions and figure out how to make them better through art and through craft. And you've also been responsible for helping the literary careers of some of the great poets that are around today through your work at the Bowery Poetry Club and the New Eurekan. And so I just want to sort of start with you and sort of talk with you a little bit about your origin story. How did poetry become the seed for you?
Hmm. Uh, I think it was always writing for me. I came into knowing who I wanted to be very early. Fourth grade, I knew I was
Mm,
to be a writer. Um, but poetry wasn't as straightforward. Um, Throughout the years, I learned James Weldon Johnson, and I'm reading these books, and I'm falling in love with Toni Morrison's Bluest Eye, and walking around crying with Maya Angelou. I know why the cage birds sing in my back pocket. Fast forward in my early 20s, I'm writing as a journalist in hip hop music. And I was still very much tied to like poetic sound, but I was trying to use this. I don't know. I was trying to use journalism as a way of, just finding my in because I was told there is no in for poets. Like, what is that's not a thing. And quite honestly, writing was all that mattered. So if it was a novel, I was happy. If it was an article, I was happy. I came to New York in '99 for a summer internship at Double XL. Got to sit beside the great Black Spot and the sisters that founded Honey Magazine, Kierna Mayo, who's an amazing, amazing North Star, and decided, oh no, I'm staying in New York. I came from California for that 3 month summer and never went back. Uh,
New York does that to you.
it does, right. It either it holds tight or it repels you. It's one or the other.
Uh-huh.
There's no like, "Oh, it's kinda, you know, fluid and warm." It ain't fluid, it's not warm. It is a deciding factor in your life forevermore. And yeah, I decided to stay. First, it was journalism, and after a year and a half of heavy misogynoir, writing and trying not to be beaten up, writing and trying to make sure that I get home safe from these clubs.
Mhm.
Um, I turned back to poetry, turned back to
Mhm.
poetry. And there still was no blueprint on how to make it a living, but I thought at least I could tell the truth about what was happening because when I told the truth about these moments of threat, physical threat, my editors were like, "You know how it is. Let's get over it. You know how it is." So poetry became the island of safety for me. I could tell the truth.
Mhm.
I didn't have to hold my tongue. And within a year, I think I was like, "Oh no, I'll just do this and
Mhm.
freelance writing for other folks." But like journalism is no longer, my focus because I know that well, I think we all know, looking at our government, journalism can be bought. Objectivity is a front for most of these spaces. And at that point, I realized the most important weapon I had was the truth of poetry.
The truth of poetry. Speak a little bit more about that. Was there a first time that you felt the truth of a piece you had read? Like, what was if you can remember, it doesn't have to be the very first one, but like a poem that really changed you or a poet that really changed you, that kind of made you think like, I want to do that. I want to have like the truth telling you were talking about in that way. And then also the second part of that question is there a piece that you wrote when you were younger, that you feel like was your first real expression of that truth and like was the first real expression of your voice? So both someone who influenced you and also the first poem that you can remember that did that for you.
I think my influences, they vary. Um,
Mhm.
there were constant Easter eggs that were found. Jihad Zainabu performing at the New Eurekan Poets Cafe. I was at the New Eurekan for almost 14 years, running the Friday night program and curating. And it was a one of those spaces that you're lucky, right, to be in the home that Miguel Agarin built with Panero and Pietri and so many others. But you know magic when it happens. And she was there. She was doing her poems with this bass player. Um, and there was a storm outside. And while she's doing the poem, like the crackling of the storm was so loud that we thought we were going to lose electricity. And she did not stop the poem and she was playing with an acoustic bassist. And she was
Mhm.
like, "Yeah, I did that. That was me." And I just never it never left me the feeling of, "Oh my God." Poems can be
Mhm.
like a hip hop moment when someone is freestyling and they start talking about the color of your glasses while they're rhyming about the political state. Like the color of your glasses look like the political state of our reflection pool. Hey, you know what I mean? Like everybody's like, oh my God, right? So you have those visceral moments, and it was her that showed me that poetry can
Mm.
happen like lightning in a bottle. You don't have to ignore what's happening outside of the word that you wrote because all of it is in response to one another. The poem
Mhm.
that I wrote that I realized, "Oh, this is powerful," like, I'm in a position of a different kind of power than I realized, was this piece that I wrote, Streetlight? I think it was like Streetlight something, but it was about growing up in the Bay Area and, there was this, an area down by Dogtown where it's like an underpass, and we knew that that's where, like, some workers, sex workers were, and there was
Mhm.
person that I knew and then how she went missing, and then we found her there, and so writing that story and then sharing it at the New Eurekan and one of the judges giving me a nasty like, the score was bad, and the poem wasn't bad, but the score was so bad that I was like, "Dang, I wonder what happened."
Yeah.
Well, I'm team mind my business. You felt how you felt, enjoy, or not. But she came up to me and told me the poem hit too close to home because she had survived that. And I was like,
Mhm.
"Oh," right? So, like, here I am thinking I offended her, and what really happened was I brought her closer to a memory that, she survived. Um,
Yeah.
and from then on, I just moved with, a real respect for the way in which we can command a room by being on
Mhm.
stage, just sharing experiences while you may not have been a sex worker, while you may not have had an abortion, while you may not have had to feel like your body was in harm's way. Um, this poem will bring you closer to the memory, right?
Mm.
It's something that your mother went through. It's something that your auntie went through. You don't have to necessarily personally have that experience to feel the humanity in it.
Mhm. This is so true. I think also, I mean, a lot of the young women that I know too were so affected by, I mean, so many of your pieces, but I was obviously thinking about Black Girl Magic, which is, such an extraordinary, beautiful piece. And for anyone on here who's not familiar with Mo's work, go get all her books, but definitely see a live performance of this poem because it transcends. It feels, it is something that is such a powerfully written piece that encompasses, I think, all of the frustration and the rage
Mm,
and the feelings of like I know myself better than the world sees me. And that is it is very much about Black girl magic, but I think women everywhere, it speaks to all of us. Like that poem always gives me the chills whenever I hear you perform it. It's just like a masterclass in owning the heart and the space of women's pain.
yeah,
Um, do you tell us a little bit more, just a little about like creating spaces where people can grow into the artists that they want to become? I mean, you have, as you said, you were at the New Rican for 14 years, at the Bowery, at Lincoln Center. That's just like three of the many, many institutions and places where you have worked and collaborated and, done all the hard work. But just tell us a little bit about what that process is like for you, and maybe like I have my own thoughts obviously, but why it's so important that we have those live spaces perhaps now, and those communities now more than ever, like
yeah,
post COVID, post Trump's first term, all of that stuff. Just tell us a little bit about the not just the community organizing, but the literary organizing.
yeah. I think, the biggest weight is that we realize the pandemic taught us, the biggest
Mhm.
weight of community is
Mhm.
actually not just creating space, but holding it.
Mm.
Anybody can walk in and say, "Can we use your coffee spot to link up for, whoop de whoop?" But will you return? Are you gonna
Mhm.
make sure that we're cleaning up after we're in that space? Are we making sure that we're telling other people, "Go to the Brooklyn Wellness Club," um, hire them, right? Are we like, holding space is more than just the moment of transaction, and I
Mhm.
learned that through, I think, being at the New Eurekan, quite honestly, while I was there for all of those years, my night was Friday night, but my night impacted all the other nights, right?
Mhm.
And I don't think folks really get that if they are not in the driver's seat, or at least in a space where they can look outside and see the horizon, see the landscape for literary gatherings and literary collaborations. What I found happens for specifically poets is that we're the most undervalued, underpaid artist in in the world. In the world. They think, "Well, it's self-expression, anyone can do it." Novels, they have a framework, they have a form. Poetry, you wrote your acrostic poem in first grade. You're a poet, you're done. And it's yes and. You accessibility, you everybody can do it if they really work at it, but you have to study the craft. It's not just know
Mhm.
3 or 4 terms. It's studying the canon. It's not just saying the canon is Keats and Whitman. It's knowing that Lord and Jordan also exist. It's not just saying the poems have to happen on the page. It's understanding that the poems are happening on the Congress floor. Word to Fannie Lou Hamer. So if we are honest about the importance of literary gatherings, then I think we would say erasure has been a very, very loud weapon,
Mm.
a loud weapon at keeping our hands tied and making us believe we don't belong. And so that's why, if I'm the first one into the room, I will never be the last one into the room. Inaugural poet in residence at Lincoln Center, yes. And then my first 90 days, I brought 30 different poets. 80% of them had never performed at the Lincoln Center Cultural Arts space. And I'd say 20% of them were older than me. I'd say 50% of them were from New York City. Now, just that, those numbers, right? Bananas
Yeah.
that here it is
Yes.
in your city. I'm a transplant to many. I've been here 25 years, but I am from Oakland, California. And the first thing that I thought was, I have to make sure this space is open to New York poets. I have to make sure that they know that this is their house too. I did the same thing when I was at Pratt Institute as the BLM coordinator. Um, I opened up those doors so everybody in
Mhm.
the neighboring community understood while Pratt is a campus, it is also a sculpture garden in the middle of your neighborhood. Those gates are meant to deter certain kind of people, but you are not certain kind of people. So now, let's go. Come on
Yeah.
campus, right? And that in itself felt revolutionary, just reminding
Mhm.
folks that we belong everywhere. Because I was always made to feel like I was tolerated at best. If I could get through the door, I was tolerated, even by folks who came from where I was coming from the performance poetry and the slam poetry and the festival poets world. There were many a times that I walked in and they're like, "Oh, well, you're not from the right part of California." And then it was, "Well, you're from
Right.
the East Coast and not the South." And then it was, "Oh, your grandparents are from the South, but what you know about this?" And there's plenty of places that already want to make us feel less than.
Mhm.
Why poets do it to other poets, you know?
Yeah.
Especially when we're receiving the least. And I understand the scarcity mindset, but I refused to become a party to it. So every time I'm walking in the door, I'm making sure that I'm taking that door off the hinge so everybody gets to come in too. Now, if you are someone who is what we call a bad player,
We've had a few of those
we
in the
have
poetry
we have
community over the years.
we have, and I believe everyone is redeemable, but redeemability comes
Yeah,
before accountability, not before.
that's
So
right.
you're gonna have to
That's
show
right.
up and show out in a better and more humane way, um,
Mm,
or else.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I have performed at Lincoln Center because of you, and before that, I was never invited there either, like,
Mm.
it's such a beautiful community what you created there and this space to let poets of all kinds be able to be on a stage there. Like, I can't even imagine being someone who's written poems forever, and it's like maybe they got in an open mic once, but now because of you, they are able to come to this space in this beautiful little theater. Um, I hope they keep that tradition going, after you become the emeritus there. I hope you still have your fingers and everything is what I'm saying.
Yeah, so July 31st is the end of my poet in
Mhm.
residency status, but I remain on as a guest curator. And that
Mhm.
means, I get about, half a dozen events a year, and specifically the event that I brought you for, the poetry festival, it will be returning. Black Girl Magic Ball, it will be
Yes.
returning. We have this writing workshop and youth advocacy program that is free. that will be returning. Woke Baby Book Fair, it lives within the arms of Schoenberg Center, so that still happens. I'm just making sure that, yeah, that the work is gonna happen regardless. I feel very
Mhm.
lucky, though, that specifically, the team at Lincoln Center, Shanta and Jordana, um, Siobhan and Liam, they have been really instrumental in reminding me that I'm still family and, I still belong.
And, it's interesting of all the books that you've written, you have carved out this really powerful niche of children's books, which
Mm.
is kind of like amazing. Woke Baby, all of these things, which I mean, Marla had all those copies when she was a youngin. Now she's 9, and you can't tell her anything, which is like
Listen.
cool. Listen, I know you know. I'm gonna be texting you like, Mo,
Yep,
help.
I got tips.
It's oh, goodness gracious. These kids today, as if we were perfect, please. But
It's perfect.
tell us yeah, yeah. Tell us a little bit about, like, getting into writing, children's books too. I mean, what a beautiful sort of there's such wonderful books out there too by authors like Jacqueline Woodson, and just, poets and writers who've transitioned into this space is so interesting to me. So tell me just a little bit about that journey for you.
Right. It's funny, it was Kwame Alexander, one of
Mhm.
the most, um, heralded? Heralded,
Heralded.
one of the most heralded, children's authors and publishers. He is also an imprint, runner. Um, we had a workshop festival together, and I wasn't doing any children's lit or young adult literature. I was still just, poems, and I happened to teach in schools. And he was like, you need to do a kids book. And I said, I don't know how. And he said, just
Mhm.
take a poem. Take a poem and illustrate it, Mo. Start small. And I thought, yeah, right. And then I did it. And that was my introduction, right? Um, Also, it was, Jason Reynolds who was like, "You need to do YA."
Ah,
And I
yes.
said
I mean, Jason Reynolds, for anyone here who doesn't know, is like the other half of Mahogany Browne. Like, I mean, in the sense of like a really
he does
yeah,
he's
he
a
does it all.
poet, he's a playwright, he, has had his poems turned into films. He was the national laureate for children's books, right? The ambassador, for ACLU, and he is a DMV kid. So he's this young Black man that came out of
Yeah.
the tradition of griot and hip hop and spoken word, and he didn't really do slam, but he did a lot of performance poetry,
Mhm.
and then looked directly to the right. He just oscillated a little bit, and he said, "I'm gonna write poems in this voice for these young people because that's what I
Mhm.
needed when I was coming up." And his authenticity, bar none. No one can match it. I'm certain.
Yeah.
I I've tried, self included. Like, it's just the authenticity is so, so super helpful because it is not about humility. It's about, not being delusional.
Mm.
Not being
Yeah.
delusional about the power of your words, your voice, and
Yeah.
the lineage in which we are all following, right? There's a
Mhm.
tradition already there. None of us are self-made. And it's because of Jason Reynolds that I'm constantly aware of that. He turned me towards young adult writing in the first place because I thought I cursed too much. Kwame said, "Write, make the poem, illustrate it." I'm not an illustrator, but I did do something with Just X Chin, and that became my introduction. But then, of course, it was Jason. I was like, just try, and don't
Mhm.
lie. Like, first things first, don't lie.
Mm.
Young people know when you're lying, right? Kids
It's
know,
so true.
and then they don't respect you. So now I'm not listening to you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he didn't just say do it and then walk away. He said do it. And then when I did it and I did not like how it turned out, my first galley, my draft, I wept and said, "They're gonna take this money back, child." He was like, "Let me see. Just send me the
Settle
manuscript.
down, settle down.
Relax." Did I tell you he wasn't humble, right? You're like, "Relax. We can fix this."
Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
a day later, line edits, 2-hour session, and that became Chlorine Sky. So my
Oh,
introduction was
amazing.
mhm. I'm very lucky in that sense. Jackie Woodson walked me into my literary agent's office and then sat down with me and said, "We need to make this poem into a more kid-friendly poem." So the Black Girl
Mm,
that you were talking about, which was picked up and, because it was already done, what came out after that with, a brunch meeting with Jackie was what just dropped 2 months ago, Black Girl Bloom Bright and Black Boy Take Flight. And those, again, are a prime example of what happens when you are in community.
yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. Um, yeah, those are, I mean, such incredible works. And I'm so curious also to know sort of about like, you know, taking those perspectives and in general, in general, being not just a writer, but like a Black woman writer, not just in this world, but in worlds in general. And uh you know, in the history of this country. But right now, like, how do you, as a woman, write through some of the shit? Like, how are you still able to function and do some of the things um, while the world around us burns? Because for me, it's hard. It's been really hard. I've had to really hone in on certain kind of practices. It's also why I started the sharpening, was to say, hey, we can use our craft, we can use our art to do something. It doesn't have to just be call your congressman, doesn't have to just be like sign a petition. It could be like let's make something together and make it loud when we do it. Um because I want artists to know that we're needed of all kinds. We are desperately needed in this moment. And so what is that like for you? How does that sit in your nervous system and your body? And how are you able to still be the artist that you are?
Um, Short answer, therapy and medication. Uh, Truly, because
Yeah.
I was out here raw dogging it, y'all. I gotta be honest. I was just having a time with this country where I was like, "Does no one see what's going on? Am I is it me?" And then you could only ask yourself, "Is it me?" so many times when
Mhm.
your reflection look back at you and say, "Yes, bitch, you. It's you. Now what? What are you gonna do about it?" Um, Fighting was easy. Fighting was easier than trying to create art to make it make sense. The
Mhm.
petitions and the rallying and the protests, super easy. Protest art it also felt like, a first language, but really processing rather than managing, and then creating art after that assessment. Um, I think, yeah, had I not said therapy is mandatory,
Mhm.
because one, trying to therapize with your friends is not the hype you think it is. This is not
It's
sex.
the danger zone. It's a
This is
danger
not
zone.
Sex in the City. Like, there's something on the other end of that moment, and it's not just like a commercial. It's your life.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I need a
yeah.
real skill, a real skill set development for getting through, because we had managed so far, all of us. You bring to the table what you've learned, I bring to the table what I've learned, and some of us cannot afford therapy, so that became, like, really an amazing mutual aid,
Mhm,
activity, but it required me to go for certain, because
mhm,
I had been the leader in a community for so long that I felt like I didn't have anyone to turn to outside of the people I had always turned to, and I saw that they were also limping. They're also
mhm,
having a time, and I'm not the kind of person that feels like Imma just dump everything on you and wait for you to
mhm,
fix it.
mhm,
Also, more art, less news. A healthy news diet has been extremely helpful. Um, and when I say more art, I mean art ingestion. So going to spaces that I'm not curating at.
yes.
Super difficult for me, actually. I didn't realize, oh, I'm not going to anything that I wasn't invited to as a performer or that I wasn't producing or hosting.
Oh, I feel this so deeply. Also, reading books that I have not been asked to blurb or that are friends of mine wrote and I want to support, but like even just to read, you know?
Just to read, and getting offline and not arguing. Whoo! Hey,
Yeah.
not arguing with the bots, baby, number 1. That was
Yeah.
the number 1 because I was like, "Oh, all of this is working together," and so once you start
Yeah.
pitching some of those links, you realize, "Oh, that was dead weight. Oh, I didn't need to do that. Oh, this actually doesn't
Yeah.
bother me anymore because I'm not putting all of that energy there, it's not working for me anymore." Um, yeah, those I think those couple of things were really the only way that I was able to return to imagination and wonder and n Miriam Kaba says, "Hope is a practice." We have to practice at it, you have to work at it. Hope is not just you wake up with, it is something that you work towards and work for. And so my hope practice became art ingestion and not because, like you said, I'm reviewing it or I'm doing poems for something for it, not because anyone asked me, but because I recognize that I need to be poured into as well.
Mm.
And
Beautiful.
what does it mean to support artists that I don't know, right? Like,
Mm.
while we are busy, you're actually way busier than me, babe. One of the busiest
I don't
persons
know about that.
on the planet. And you deserve a moment to just like tap out. And here's 3 hours just for you. Um,
Yeah.
my writing morning papers, that changes often. I think after you've done it a long time, your alchemy sessions are different. So residencies were really helpful. Residencies with friends, lifeblood.
So good, so good. That actually goes to Sam had a question here, and then Karen as well. Sam said, for Mo, can you talk a little bit about your writing process and when you know if you're ready to share a piece with the world? Because we have a lot of writers in here, curious writers, people who are deep in their process and who are just starting to hone their process, which is what Karen's question is about.
Mhm,
More sort of like supporting poets as a fledgling, as a beginning artist yourself.
mhm. I think both of those questions will be answered by this answer. Me and friends and co-curators founded Super Duper Fresh, which is a monthly work session, so to speak. It's a working mic session. You just come and you do a poem that you're working on, or you do an essay that you're working on. It's nothing that's so it's literally about the easiest lift possible, right? I just wrote this. That's it. That's all we're asking. So if it sucks, you'll know. We're gonna tell you, you're gonna have that moment, but it's about you like surrendering to the fear of not being perfect.
Oh,
Surrendering to the fear of not being on a list. It's okay for you to have a bad poem. It actually means you're working. It's okay for you to have a bad essay. It means you're working.
mhm,
Not okay when you publish this bad stuff without an accountable working group for yourself so that when it's out in the world you don't have at least your artillery available to you.
mhm,
Say,
mhm.
this is why I made that choice. Or I mean, if you care or not, some people are like, I'm gonna just write it, I don't care what you think. And bless you, bless your ministry, yay you. I care about how my slip shows in public. So I do. I wanna make sure this is exactly how I wanted to go out, and I want you to see me. Now, whether you like it or not, I don't really care about that. I just wanna make sure what I wrote was what I intended to write,
Mm.
and you need community for that. So, open mics, open circles, those are your friend. Some kind of supportive space. I'm not asking you to put yourself in harm's way and be with people who wanna be mean to you because those things make you wanna not write, and writing is really about
Or share.
or
Yeah.
share. And it's all about liberation. That's it. So understand that if someone can take you off your mat, as my grandfather would say, take you off your mat.
Mm.
And who has the power, right? And I decided I wasn't allowing people to take me off of my mat. When it comes to writing, you can't tell me I can't write. You can't tell me I can't dream. You can't tell me. I won't, I refuse it because I know that if I let you tell me what to say about myself, the way history books work here in this here country, sad life. Such a sad life that no one will remember me, not even myself.
Mm. Yeah, we
I
talked. I
rebuke
spoke
it.
to
I rebuke it. Sorry. I rebuke
I
it.
rebuke it in the name of Jesus. Thank you. Um, I spoke to Matthew Zabruder, from Wave Books, and we also just talked about the importance of like as far as publishing is concerned, like back to the basics, baby. Like make chapbooks. Just put your work out there, sell them for a couple dollars. Like capitalism has destroyed our ability to see that art matters despite financial gain or money. And listen, we all live in a world where we have to make a living. We have to find ways to pay the bills. So we're not talking about that. But we have been, I think, put in this sort of chokehold as artists in thinking that our art is either supposed to be like, you know, Taylor Swift or like something so huge and ridiculous and unattainable that otherwise it doesn't matter. And so I think it's so important what you're saying for people to find community, find your local like a place where you can get on an open mic, share something. I've featured at Super Duper Fresh thanks to you. It was amazing. And I loved
You were great.
watching all of you just be like, yeah, you just like pop up there and you're like, I wrote this thing yesterday. Half of it's trash. I'm going to see what this sounds like on a microphone in front of people. You never know where people are going to like snap or laugh or it's going to feel different. And you're going to go, that's going to give me some insight. Really is how like stand up comedians do their work.
It
They
is.
test it out and they figure out like, oh, where are people really laughing? It may not be at the punchline.
Yes.
It might be at a totally different place that people suddenly feel you and they feel so connected.
Yes.
Um, and so to answer Sam's question, just curious about like writing process for you. When you sit down to write something, like do you just write and then edit after? Do you edit while you write? Do you sit with a thought? Like, our beloved Wanda Coleman, who I've spoken about so many times on here, would say like, you have to let the muse rest, right? And then the other side of that there's no such thing as writer's block. You have to let the muse rest. And then the other side of that are other writers I know who are like, you have to write every single day, no matter what. So what's your process? Tell us about that.
I believe in both because I believe when Wanda said you have to let the muse rest, she was saying production looks different. Sometimes the muse is resting when you are cooking, when you are taking the walk, when you um are having, a smoke session with your friends. When like
Mm-hmm.
muse is resting when you are living. And I think poets specifically, I'll talk about other genres in a second, but poets specifically, we're like, I have to tool over this one line. This enjambment isn't right. And I will miss dinner for it. And you're
Oh
like,
my God.
girl, okay.
I feel attacked.
Sorry, love you. Love you so much. And think about how many more poems you wrote when me and you just shared a glass of wine and a
Yeah.
Caesar salad. And it was like the poems are happening because language is happening.
Mm-hmm.
And so that my process it lives in several variations. When I'm writing, I'm just doing the download. And then when I go back to look at what I've written, I'm like, is this line breaks about to happen? Or is this a lyric essay? Or is this a short story waiting to become a novel?
Mm.
And I always oscillate the entirety of the writing spectrum. I'm looking at every
Mm-hmm.
single thing to see where this fits because my poems live everywhere. My one poem, Blurred Vision, which my daughter sang next to me for it's on Button Poetry. That poem became Chlorine Sky, the YA novel in verse.
Ah,
That
wow.
novel in verse was optioned by Steppenwolf to be a play. I then turned the YA novel in verse into a play, a six-person ensemble play that premiered at Steppenwolf Theater in Chicago. All that to say, poems go everywhere, as far as I'm concerned. I'm genreless. I I'm every genre, like Whitney Houston, honey. It's all in me. Anything I wanna write, baby. I don't
I do it naturally.
whoa, whoa, whoa.
Just a little
We're
Substack
gonna
dance
do
break.
it. Do you feel Swifties?
Yeah. This is Mo and I, like, anytime we're hanging out. This is
Just
what it
saying,
looks like.
where the poems
This is
happen.
what it looks where the poems happen.
Yeah. So process can be
Um
any and everything. I can receive a prompt because I'm writing for a commission piece.
Mhm.
Use a space when I just hosted a conversation between the New York City Literary Organization leaders and our new New York City Cultural Literary Arts Commissioner, Commissioner Reach, who's amazing.
Woo!
And I wrote a poem based on the language that was said right there, right? And it wasn't like you had that moment of like, you just shared it. Yep, I just shared it because I'm not here for perfection. I'm here for lived experience. And
Mm.
for the most amazing poems, they come from reflection and then you can edit them. You can tighten them up. They can become sinries. They can become a crown of sonnets. They can become anything you want. But if you find yourself trying to muzzle the thought until it's perfect in its completion, then I think you'll have, a lot of sleepless, sad nights.
Wow, that I've not heard that put so eloquently in that way. If you try to muzzle the idea while it's still just a thought in your head, then you're kind of diminishing its capacity to become what it's meant to become. And
Yeah.
that's very, very true. I think we are, again, it's so easy to take something and say, like, well, I'm going to fine tune it and or make it the thing it should be according to what's popular at the moment, what I think will get me a deal for this or that. Sure, that is an avenue without a doubt. Like, you can do that, but I think that doesn't make us greater artists. That
That's
just
right.
makes us greater capitalists.
Woo! Come on, bars. Come on, bars. Doesn't
um
make us greater artists. It makes us greater capitalists. Make the t-shirt.
make the
Sorry,
t-shirt.
so I can buy it.
So you have a big dance party coming up at your so the end of your residency at Lincoln Center. Will you tell folks about this? Because I'm really excited and I'm
Okay.
hoping I can be there.
So
I need
July
the invite.
31st at David, the Atrium, Rubenstein Theater, the Atrium, and that's on Broadway and 62nd. July 31st, 7 p.m. doors open. We are having a See You Later Mahogany Browne party. And it starts with a little game show moment featuring Tracy Thomas from the Stacks podcast, Kiese Lehman, author of
Ooh,
Happy, and
it'll be one of the great memoirs or books of the last, I think,
of all
two
time,
decades.
of
Yeah,
all time,
yeah.
and Disha Filia of Secret Lives of Church Ladies, and the new book coming out about Lady Freeman, which I just finished in El Salvador. The book is so juicy and good. Pre-order it now. And then, of course, the dance party that follows, all 90s music because Pacific. So come in whatever 90s gear you feel most fashioned ready for. And DJ Joseph
Amazing.
from Jersey, a la, if I'm correct, he's one of Queen Latifah's traveling DJs. He'll be
Oh my
there
gosh.
to do it big. And we're going out with a bang, baby.
This is incredible. And this is at Lincoln Center on July 31st. Can you buy public tickets to this?
It is free because I'm really from the school of
Okay.
James Jordan. Poetry for the people, always.
Poetry for the people. Beautiful. So everyone, listen, you have your marching orders. Come say hi to Mo. Come to Lincoln Center on July 31st. I'll probably be there too. And make sure you get some of her incredible books, Chrome Valley, Woke Baby, all of the amazing, whether you've got like nieces or nephews or kids yourself, whether you're curious about the starting point of poetry. Mo, it was so wonderful to talk to you today. I hope we can do this again. Let's do a common theme. We'll do it more regularly.
I love that. I love your brain. I really appreciate the way in which you use space to not just connect the dots, but to connect the community. and
Mm.
it's not lost on me. We're very lucky to have you in our world.
That means a lot to me. I adore you.
Thank you. Thanks for
Thank
teaching.
you everyone for being here, and also sign up to Mo's Substack. You can find it here in the replay. I'll make sure to put it all the information when I send this out to all subscribers coming up in the next day probably. So
Yes.
there it is.
Peace.
Bye. Bye everyone.
Nixon 5.
Nixon 5 forever.